Nida, mate, what are you thinking? What? How did you have the balls to pull this off? I want to hear it all.
Oh, thanks, Tan. What was I thinking? Um, I was just really excited to find a way to bring the women in my life to the screen. I think for many years I've been kind of frustrated with the sort of representation of Muslim women I was seeing because it didn't speak to my experience. I really wanted to find a way to show them as funny, as humorous, but also I wanted to bring in my passion for music. So sort of all these things combined is where the idea came from. And I was really lucky in that when I took it to Suryan at Working Title, she got it instantly and we connected immediately. And, that's where the sort of idea just grew and grew.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned Suryan. Suryan, Working Title, I love the work that you guys have done. However, this feels like something quite unique. I've never seen a show like this on TV. I didn't think this was possible in my lifetime. I want to know what it takes to get a show like this, for Nida to come to you and say, this is the show I want to make.
Yeah.
How does one convince Working Title to do a show like this?
Well, funnily enough, I didn't have to convince them because, I get to grow my own slate and I have quite a lot of freedom within the role. And I think, in my career, I've always tried to work for quite mainstream commercial companies because I feel like diverse content has a home within those spaces and should reach broad audiences and shouldn't be just sitting on the fringes. And I think that what's so wonderful about the outcome of this show is that it has done that. It's really found a broad mainstream audience and just proved that our stories are for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Did you at any point feel concerned? Because the subject matter is controversial. I'm a gay Muslim man. Believe me, I understand all too well the controversy that comes with being a little bit outside of the expected mold of a Muslim. Yeah. Were you at all concerned, Suryan?
Well, we definitely talked about it. We knew we were being intentional and thoughtful and sensitive. We talked to many Muslim creatives in the lead up to the making of this show. We sat down with people. We knew we never wanted to be offensive or that we were coming from a place of love. So I think we just chose to back ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, and that very question, Tan, was so interesting to me, even as a creative, as a woman from a Muslim background creating art, and asking that question of, you want to speak your truth, but that truth may not resonate with everyone, but it will speak to certain people and it will mean something to those people, and it's sort of how much of yourself are you willing to kind of compromise in order to fit into a specific box, and that very question that we talk about, that I was going through, I really wanted to put into the show because I feel like, when I do Q&As, when I speak to kids starting in writing and especially, people from diverse backgrounds who feel the burden of representation, one of the things, it just comes up a lot. And I was like, I want to explore this. Like, you feel this burden, but you feel, this privilege to be able to speak and wanting to honor your experience and wanting to honor people who may have felt outsiders. So, it's such an interesting area that I felt so lucky that even within the show I got to explore.
Anita, when you were writing the show, and you were deciding on how the format was going to, or how the show was going to go, the arc of the show, were you concerned at all with making sure it represented a marginalized group, a wider group? Were you concerned about editing things out so that it would appease the likes of Working Title? I want to understand, for those watching who are looking to create a show that is truthful, I want to know what it takes to make it what you want it to be versus what the production company wants it to be or the network wants it to be.
I felt very lucky, Tan, in that what I wanted it to be kind of was not allowed, but was in line with what the network wanted. They actually wanted it to be what I wanted it to be, if you know what I mean. I didn't feel there was anything at odds. As Suryan said, like, we were intentional when we were making choices. We were constantly asking ourselves, okay, what are we saying? Why are we saying this? And, which was actually really great to just reflect, because it gives me kind of strength when you kind of are going out to people. And to see the show connect in the way it has, honestly, it's been so heartwarming and has been so exciting because it feels like there's a shift. It feels like, new voices will be able to take in the space. And because, for real representation, we want a whole kind of, multiplicity of voices just expressing different ways of being. So, I feel like the process has been like, it's been incredibly, for me, quite scary. It's my first show. It's a very personal piece of work, but it's been ultimately like so rewarding to see how warmly it's been received. And yeah. I
mean, I'm not surprised that it's been so well because it's so well done. But I'm curious to understand, was there anything that you were thinking, I want to put that in, but that's too much?
That's too much?
Or that's too far.
I don't think was there?
That's too much.
How far is too far?
How far is too far? There's nothing in there where I'm like, oh, I wish I had done it differently. Maybe there's some things in like, I'm trying to think.
I don't think there was.
There wasn't anything.
There was nothing that we discussed that we felt, do you know what, that's going too far. Because
no.
But something that you didn't add in, like something that you think, I wish I could have added it, but you were scared to add it in.
Ooh. Oh, was I scared to add anything in? No, I mean, I was terrified all the time, but that's because that's just who I am. So that was a kind of a given. But I was just excited. Anything that made me laugh, that made us laugh, went in. Things. I wanted to show different ways of being a woman, different representations of femininity. What that even means. And when you have such a talented cast who just bring such life to it, it just was. I felt like I was sharing this exciting story with all these incredible creatives. So it was really like, it was like breathing fresh air for the first time, in the expression of it. I felt incredibly free to express. And I feel very lucky, whenever I was worried about oh, will that auntie down the road not like it or whatever, my mum, I'm very lucky. My mother has been such a big supporter and has been like, you go do it, go out there, you get out there. So I feel very lucky and I've had a really great support system around me to kind of really enable me.